What's up, everyone? My name is Giselle, and welcome to yet another episode of Jeck Talk Tech. Whether you're listening to the podcast via Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, or wherever you got your podcast, thank you. I appreciate it very much. My daddy is on break, so I am doing the podcast for him. Today is the final episode on this saga, online schooling in the Philippines. A couple of weeks ago, me and my brother are the guests so that the listeners would know how we feel about this. Last week, my Ninong JR was the guest to get the parents' perspective. Today, we have teacher JM of the Pisara Tales podcast as a guest. He shared his thoughts, challenges, and take on online schooling. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the interview.
All right. So, my next guest, actually, he doesn't need any introduction anymore sa podcasting community natin. Kasi, medyo napapadalas ang guesting nito eh. Actually, sa sobrang dalas ng guesting niya, dun sa isang podcast, naging co-host ko. Naging regular. So, aside yun, dun sa main podcast niya, so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome TITSer JM of the Pisara Tales. What's up?
Woo! Yo, hello sa mga listeners ng Jeck Talk Tech. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Now, actually, this is the third episode of my mini-series, which is, I dedicated 3 episodes for this particular topic, which is the online schooling. So, on episode 8, I have a guest, which are my kids. So, I've heard, and the listeners have heard, the student side and perspective. And then last week, I have a parent who discusses his perspective on this particular topic. And then last, and certainly not the least, yung teacher side naman. So I have TITSer, teacher JM on the show to help me understand what's the current situation on online schooling. So sir, but before we proceed with that, just give our listeners a brief background of your podcast first.
Right. So, hello, I'm JM Estrella. I'm the host of the Pisara Tales, which is this podcast that I started wherein I talk about my experiences and thoughts as a young millennial teacher. So, I'm currently a second year high school teacher. As in, like, this is my second year teaching. I also teach.
you also teach second year high school.
Second years actually. Oo nga, nagkataon din. So I also teach grade 7, 8, 9. So, high schoolers and some senior high classes. So I teach high school science, right? So background ko actually is a chemist. So I graduated BS Chemist. And I worked as a chemist for a while, and then I realized that I wanted to teach. It was one of my what ifs in college. And then when I had the chance, I became a teacher. And now I'm on my second teaching year. And in the podcast, I talk about thoughts on national issues regarding education, but also like experiences, the struggles we face as teachers, etc. And that's very much it.
Thank you for that. Pareho pala tayo, no? Chemist. Chemist. Oh, ako din eh. Chemist is sumaasa.
Sabi na eh. I've heard that far too many times. No, it's okay.
Of course,
yes.
Because your course is BS Chemistry, di ba? So, sureball ako na madalas mo naririnig yun. Ay, chemist ka pala, no? Para tayo.
Yeah. There's that, and then there's the marunong ka bang gumawa ng sabon, or the more infamous, marunong ka bang gumawa ng droga? To which I say I do not know how to make either of them. I don't know the exact steps, but I have an idea. Pero honestly,
So you've mentioned
Wala.
earlier na what ifs
mhm.
kaya naging teacher ka.
Yeah.
But in reality, what made you decide to go to that particular route instead of being in a lab or being in an office or being a chemist for a particular company? What made you decide to be on the front lines of the school?
So I worked as a chemist actually for 1.5 years. I worked as both a research assistant, so sa academe research, and I worked as a laboratory chemist for a testing company. So both of those experiences were great. I got to apply the actual thing that I learned sa college. But one thing I realized was that sometimes science can be a very introverted profession, lalo na kung lagi nasa lab. And I'm an extrovert. I like going out. I like talking to people, interacting with people. And like I remember nung sa RA job ko, my boss, who was my thesis advisor as well back in undergraduate college, sabi niya sa akin, mas nag-thrive daw ako dun sa times na nag-field work kami. Kasi may field work involved yung project namin. So, every time nalalabas kami, dun ako mas nag-thrive. Dun sa nung mag-shine. Pero pag sa actual laboratory work, medyo basura pa ako. So, parang na-realize ko
Normal
na,
ba yun?
yes,
Normal ba yun?
na
Ganun yung pag nasa field ka, dun ka nag-thrive while
kasi
you're in your
may halong pakikihalubilo sa mga tao. Especially in the project that we did. We got to talk to some of the stakeholders. Just a brief background on that research. It was about Nipanog. So Nipan, alam niyo lambanog, di ba? Gawa sa coconut.
Marami nun sa amin, dito sa Quezon.
Yes. So actually, rin kami. Sa Quezon din kami nag-film. So Nipanog naman. So gawa
Saan sa Quezon?
Nakapagpunta kami ng Mauban, nakapunta kami ng
Maraming
Pulillo Island.
Sa Poland.
Sa Poland.
Pulillo Island.
Yun yung paborito ko kasi talagang bangka.
Maganda yung beach, ha? Yung beach dun.
So, yun. So, we got to talk to some of the farmers who were doing yung authentic. Kasi what we did was testing, as in chemical testing. Just to create a profile. Kasi ang lambanog may profile na yan. Pero yung nipanog, hindi pa kasing uso. Relatively mas sustainable siya. So, yun din yung isa pang pinapush ng science, ng Department of Science and Technology. So, there's that. So dun sa fieldworks, nagtatry ako. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. So, DOST, magpro-promote ng liquor.
Not so much the liquor. Yeah. Not so much the liquor, but more of the products kasi.
Okay.
So, what we do in the science, in the research that we did was to help create a national standard. Kasi ang lambanog, may national standard yan. Na tipong, ganito dapat ang laman niya, ganyan.
Yes.
We wanted to do the same, but for Nipanog. So, to help the farmers din. So, may social relevance din siya. And dun sa times na nag-fieldwork kami, dun ako nag-thrive. As in, yung makikihalubilo kami sa mga farmers, nakipag-usap ganyan.
Because you love interacting to people.
Yes. Pero pagdating sa lab work, medyo nauhuli. Medyo, So, kaya rin I had to end nung natapos yung contract ko, hindi na ako nag-renew. And hindi na rin talaga balak i-renew. So, I went to the other chemist work, which was also good work naman. Pero it was pretty introverted. Kahit na may mga ka-opisina ko, and we get to talk naman. But most of my days talaga nasa lab. And so, I thought about what I wanted to do. And I remembered in college, I took this course, this subject, Introduction to Guidance Counseling. Siya yung elective ko ng college. And my professor there, who was a guidance counselor, she told me that I had the potential for teaching. Kasi yung demeanor ko, yung aura ko, and how I present myself talking. So, like, it stuck sa head ko. But that was like the last push na parang, okay, this could be an actual career of mine.
Very evident naman yun sa podcast mo eh. So, guys, if you listen to JM's podcast, very evident yun na
parang teacher magsalita.
Parang teacher na teacher eh.
Yeah, so yun, I pushed for it. Naghanap ako ng schools na applyan. Even if I don't have yet my teacher's license. Although I'm studying for it naman. But yeah, merong isang tumanggap and that's where I am working there now for more than a year.
Good. Now, last question about dun sa chemist career mo, sa chemistry career mo. Not that it's already over, you know. Pero
Yeah.
Pagka-graduate mo ba ng BS Chemistry, meron bang mga license yan?
Yes,
Or-
actually kaka-renew ko lang. So, kasi every 3 years ang license. So, this was my 3rd year of being a chemist. So, kaka-renew ko lang din. Kasi I tend to keep it. I want to keep it then just in case. And there are some things that I could do with it naman. Like, for example, buying chemicals, kung bala kong dun sa laboratory sa school namin. Parang ako na rin yung pseudo lab manager kasi dahil may prior experience naman ako sa laboratory work. So
doble babayad pag ganun.
Joke lang. Sorry po.
Just in case you're listening, guys, alam nyo na. Hindi, joke lang po yun.
Hindi, joke lang. No, but even if whether or not it was paid, it was something that kasi it was my last string towards being an actual chemist. Kasi ayoko rin naman talaga pakawalan yun fully. Kasi I love chemistry. Kaya rin science yung balak.
Pinag-aralan mo, di ba?
Pinag-aralan ko yun eh.
Tapos pinaghirapan mo pa yung exam. Tapos renew ka ng license. Tapos pababayaan mo lang.
Yeah.
Walang ganun, besh.
Parang iba na yata yun.
Napansin mo rin.
Parang kakilala yata natin yung gumaganong level.
Hindi tayo pupunta sa ganong usapan kasi hindi naman ito Pisara serye. Okay. Ibang podcast yun. We have a separate podcast.
Yes.
Actually, pwede natin gawing separate entity dun sa podcast. Pisara serye. Kasi talaga namang kaabang-abang yung mga kwento ng Pisara serye. Na spin-off din ng The Pisara Tales.
Nakikinig din siya ngayon. Hopefully. Dahil she's into podcast now. But anyway, yes. Going back.
Speaking of your podcast, parang MTV tong nangyari sa atin. Meant to be.
Meant to, tama. Meant to be.
Kasi I realized that you have posted your 10th episode.
Yes.
A couple of days ago.
10th episode was an update on online classes. So I did an online classes episode, my first episode yun. Then, but that was
G
before...
or no G?
G or no G. That was July pa. So, syempre, ang dami na nangyari in terms of, the education status dito sa Philippines. So I wanted to do an update on that, especially now there are schools na nag-start na. So I wanted to give an update on that. And that was episode 10.
Yun ba yung... Well, as far as I am aware, wala pang public school ang nag-start.
Wala pa. So public schools are slated to start on October 5th. Pero kasi, since they gave that announcment,
nag-start na yung private.
Nag-start na yung ibang private.
Yes.
So sabi nila, kung nag-start na yung private or may balak na mag-start, sige, hahayaan namin kayo. Pero ang public, October 5 pa. So we have yet to see the effects of that sa public schools. But there are,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, there are already private schools that started. So at least meron ng some data, some evidence that is coming in. And I tackled that dun sa episode.
Kasi supposedly, dapat August 17. Tama ba? Ang start ng classes.
August 24. Kasi
24.
naalala ko, pating school na pinagtatrabaho ko, dun din dapat yung saktong start eh.
Oo. Kaya ko pala nasabing August 17 kasi yung pala yung dry run ng mga anak ko.
So yeah, we also had some sort of dry run then.
So officially, when did you start teaching online? Or kailan nag-start yung online classes mo dun sa school mo?
So, the school that I work for, we had what is known as a bridging program. So, di ba, this whole pandemic happened around March. And not all yung public schools patapos na nun eh. So, at least konti lang yung nabawas sa kanilang school, relatively konti lang yung nabawas sa kanilang school days. Pero for some private schools like ours, our calendar starts kasi at August. Tapos tapos around June nang tapos. So, nung nagkaroon ng ng suspension of class, ang laking chunk dun sa latter end ng school year. So, hindi siya kailangan gumawa ng paraan para mapunan yun. Not just in terms of DepEd requirements and whatnot, but also
for the kids.
For the kids, lugi sa kanila yun eh. Especially in a private school na binabayaran ng parents yun, ganyan. So, lugi for everyone. Like you and like your other guests. But yes, lugi talaga. So, what our school did was we had this 3-week bridging program. It was used for multiple purposes. First purpose is, yun nga, para mapunan yung hindi natakal na subjects, just to, get them up to speed, and also para for completion. Second, it was a dry run of how online classes would work. So we tested out everything that we planned for, yung mga learning management system namin, kung anong mga video conferencing tools and gagamitin namin, everything talaga. So doon we worked out the kinks for those 3 weeks. So it was multi-purpose talaga. And that started August, like first week of August talaga. August 3. Yeah, the first Monday of August. Tapos 3 weeks yon. And then our actual school year 2020-2021 started August 24.
Okay. So, question regarding that. Paano yung mga transferees na hindi naman sa school mo nag-study on the last prior school year? Kasama pa rin sila dun sa bridging program?
Yes, so there are some, especially those na magang nag-transfer. Yes, kasama sila. I mean, they had that option kasi that they could join if Pero kasi there are some na nag-transfer late. So ang nabutan nila is yung start na ng first sa amin kasi term eh. Di semester, trimester kami. So term 1, term 2, term 3. So simula ng first term na sila nakaabot, which is fine din naman, no problem with that.
Siguro yung parent nun hindi pa nakapag-decide kung papapasukin.
Yeah. Hindi pa nakapag-decide or probably hindi pa nakapagbayad ng tuition. There are many factors naman and we understand that. So the administration ng school namin was very understanding in taking in. Kasi ang dami ring, yun nga, unfortunately, the reality is there are private schools na nagsara kasi they couldn't handle shifting towards, there are. I mentioned this dun sa episode ko. I think
Bala, hindi ko nakinig.
No, but there are like out of like 15,000 private schools sa buong Pilipinas, and like a certain percent, around like 40% yata sa kanila ang nagsara, which is a big chunk. And syempre yung like the kids in those schools would have to look for a different school to work to study in. Kami rin actually, like yung some of our students from last school year, not all of them returned kasi they have their reasons naman. Some personal, some financial, there are various reasons. So it had its effects talaga.
Kasi ang naisip ko, isang mga reason dyan, what if yung parent nawala ng trabaho due to this current situation and hindi kayang magpaaral sa private school?
Yeah. Over the summer, that was part of our planning eh. So, like after our mini vacation, like one of the first things that we were doing was analyzing the demographic of our students. Not for like makikiyosyoso ko ano ginagawa ng parents or whatever. No, but the main reasoning is for that is how can we make schooling for them medyo mas makatao. Especially now, we have to be a bit more considerate. You know, all of the this is unprecedented. And all the other cliches, but it's true. So we were trying to see like ano bang work ng particular parents na to, and to shame them or whatever, but how can we help them?
So nag-survey kayo?
Yeah, there was a survey. Like we consulted ano bang mag-work sa kanila. Would they be fine with like fully online? Do we need to do modules? And, like the whole shebang. Talagang we tried to think it out, and I'd like to think that we did the best we can. Kasi considering wala namang blueprint for something like this, so we were just taking it day by day. And so far naman the parents have minimal complaints. Siguro just like smoothing out the edges na lang. But all in all, we're doing good naman, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how our administration was doing, and also like my co-faculty, we're just doing the best we can.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Now, naalala ko lang yung isang announcement ng DepEd before all these things happened, or nung nag-start na nga yung idea na this particular school year will be done online.
Mm-hmm.
Naalala mo yung survey na ang headline is lahat po ng nagsagot sa survey ay may access sa internet. Malamang kasi online
kasi online survey yan. Like I sometimes find myself both laughing and weeping inside at how
I know it's a joke, but there's a deeper meaning behind it.
Like I find myself laughing and weeping inside at how out of touch, right, to put it nicely, how out of touch some of the government officials are. Siyempre, magpapasurvey ka tapos online, parang hindi mo lamang yung makakasagot ng yung may internet, yung may access.
May data.
Obviously, hindi naman nila magawa yung house to house kasi of the situation. Pero it's just really weird na parang, and I know there are a lot of good people working at DepEd. I have colleagues who know friends na talaga they're doing the best they can. Mm-hmm. Pero it's just minsan talaga like this general feeling with even some of my teacher friends or colleagues. Minsan talaga yung mga polisiya nila parang hindi mo alam kung pinag-isipan.
Well,
and this is the Department of Education. No, I'm not going to political. It's just a frustration that I'm sure there are teachers who are listening na ganun din ang feel nila minsan. Pero wala kasi pinili namin maging teacher. Pangalawa, it's for the kids talaga. So, talagang soldier on.
Okay. Now, for you, personally, how did you prepare yourself?
Personally,
nung nabalitaan mo na uy,
ito na yung balak.
Online na, ito na. Parang, ito na. Sigurado, may mga meetings kayo yan, mga co-teachers mo, ng admin ng institution. Nung nagiging evident na we're going to this online school, how do you prepare and what preparations did you do to start?
First of all, I would like to recognize that I have this privilege na I could afford to buy new hardware because that was the first thing I did. So, hinahanap ko may laptop na ako na ginagamit ko for work. And hinahanap ko yung luma kong screen. Like, I had this parang monitor, parang LCD monitor. So, I could do a double screen setup. So, at least I have more, desktop with. And then I started to buy materials that I think would be essential when online classes will start.
What are those?
Microphone, earphones, ring light, bagong desk. Wala akong desk before sa kwarto ko kasi I never had to work at home. Sa office ako.
Hindi ba sumikip yung kwarto mo?
I found one na medyo spacious naman. So the one that I'm using right now. So at least I have enough space but also hindi naman hindi naman matakaw sa Zoom. But yun, so
tapos yung mic, dual purpose na
yung mic.
Nagagamit mo sa podcasting, diba?
Yeah, but also so yung original purpose was for online classes. Basically, yan. Yun yung ring light na yung mura lang na tapos para at least kita ako sa I thought about buying webcam pero sabi ko kung kailangan na malinaw din sa phone ko na lang.
Anong gamit mo?
Hardware talaga yung una.
Hardware.
hardware yung una kong pin-prioritize. Kasi yung software, matututunan naman yan. Some of them I already know, like, for example, using Google Suite, so Google Docs, Google Sheets, stuff like that. Merong isa. Tapos in terms of hardware, I have a friend who was gracious enough to give me their yung tablet na yung pang-draw, pang graphic artist, yung
parang
Wacom, parang ganun. So sakto nag-upgrade kasi siya, graphic artist siya. Sakto nag-upgrade siya. Tapos nakita niya yung post kasi I was looking to buy one. And then my friend was like, sa'yo na to. Mag-upgrade naman ako ng bago, sakto. Gumagana pa naman siya kahit na luma. So I can give it to you. Shipping, bayaran mo na lang yung shipping. So, okay, that's great. So nagagamit ko siya. Oo nga eh. Like,
shoutout
honestly,
mo, bait
shoutout kay Bianca Publico. If you're listening, thank you very much. You are doing the Lord's work in terms of, helping me, bring, kasi nagagamit ko siya ngayon, virtual whiteboard, drawing diagrams, lalo na sa science, sobrang essential. So, thank you, Bianca. Kung nakikinig ka man. Yeah. So, hardware.
Curious
and
lang
then,
ako, anong laptop ang binili mo? Anong brand?
Malas talaga ako sa laptop. I like saying this. Malas ako sa laptop kasi madaling masira sa... Hindi ko alam. Like, I do the best I can to take care of them. Pero, madaling nasisira sa akin ng laptop. So, the one that I'm using right now is a Lenovo that I pay... I bought this...
There goes my sponsorship.
No, maganda naman eh.
Oh,
maganda naman yun.
Bawi.
Maganda naman. I'm not saying bad things about it. Kasi gumagana pa nga sa akin. But I mean, so I bought this laptop
Wait, by the way,
months before. Yes.
JM, tech channel ako so you can, name brands na tech.
Yeah, diba? I recommend this. But I bought this laptop a few months before I resigned from my last chemistry job. This was the time na I thought na malak ko na maging teacher. I'm planning it out. Like konti na lang magsisend na ako ng notice dun sa boss ko sa they understood naman na it was a career shift, so wala namang samaan. But yeah, so one of the few things I did was buy a laptop kasi naisip ko magiging essential din sa akin.
Anong specs ng laptop mo?
i3 Lenovo Lenovo IdeaPad 110.
IdeaPad, okay.
IdeaPad 110, Radeon Graphics, Intel Core
pwedeng
i3.
mag-games, pwedeng mag-mobile.
Actually, may game ako dito. Pero Nelson, sobrang busy, hindi ko na nalalaro. But yeah, so just the normal specs. I finish ko talaga na kahit paano i3 man lang yung processing. Kasi kailangan ko ng programs na. And then, yun nga, Radeon Graphics.
Which leads me to my next question, TITSer. Sa gantong situation ba, sino ang dapat mag-provide ng mga gamit? Yung school or yung teacher?
Again, I go back to my disclaimer that I recognize my privilege that I could afford to buy one for myself. But in reality, dapat sagot yun ng school. So in the school that I work for, one of the things that they did to help us teachers that yung mga computer namin sa IT lab sa IT lab ng school, pinahiram. So at least they were iMacs. So we had the option to borrow them for the school year if talagang hindi carry. And some of the teachers na used it kasi at least paano makakatulong siya na I opted not to kasi una, baka masira ko pa yun, babayaran ko pa. But also, another is I'm not a Mac user, so learning curve na naman yun. I'm fine with the laptop that I have. And yun nga, I wanted to give way for those na mas kailangan mo. In general, I'd like to think that it should be the school's responsibility. Kasi lalo na kung private school din, kasi binabayaran naman, bayad yan, tuition. At even in public school, kung kaya lang talaga, dapat sagutin talaga ng school yan. Kasi, una, wala namang nakapag-prepare for dito. And you can't assume that everyone has the same purchasing power that they can afford their own laptop or their own computer.
100%.
Hindi lahat ng teacher techie. Lalo na yung mga teachers sa public school, karamihan sa kanila, tagtagal na sa serbisyo, hindi naman yung laptop siguro.
Kaya yung mga pa-retire na, no? Tapos inabutan pa ng ganito.
Oh, so talagang yeah, I think it's a school's responsibility.
Okay, thanks
It
for
should
that.
be.
Medyo lukewarm take. Hindi siya hot take.
Mhm.
Lukewarm lang, maligamgam.
Lukewarm lang.
Ayun,
But
lukewarm
it's a
lang.
sensible take. I'd like to think that there are a lot of teachers who would agree. Not because we're biased na we don't want to pay for it, but also
Mhm.
talagang yun eh. Talagang responsibility dapat nila eh. We're going to do our part. I hope they do theirs. Parang ganun yung take eh.
Ano naman yung masasabi mo dun sa pag ikaw karpintero, ikaw bibili ng sarili mong martilyo. Pag ikaw yung tubero, ikaw ang bibili ng sarili mong tools. Pag ikaw yung teacher, ikaw ba yung bibili ng sarili mong chalk?
Yun nga eh. In terms of that analogy, kasi ang tingin ko dyan, ang karpentero at saka ang tubero, that's their skill and that's their trade talaga. That's what they're supposed to do. And so buying these things would be an investment in their part. That's not to say that if we bought our own chalk or our own learning materials, it wouldn't be an investment in ours. But we work for an institution eh. We work for a school. Like there is
work for someone else, diba?
Yeah, we're
There's a
work for
higher
someone
power.
else. Oh. So if ganon, so we're no different from employees na dapat kung ano yung gagamitin for their work, sila magpo-provide. We will do our part, of course. Kung ang carpentero tubero kasi, skills-based. Pangalawa, kung hindi naman sila, if they're not like yung mga social na they would work for a company, sariling trade nila yan. So, investment sa kanila yon.
Nice
Yeah.
point.
Ganun tingin ko dun eh.
And I agree. Tama naman na gagamitin mo, kayo mag-provide. Kasi kung wala ako niyan, hindi ko magagawa yung trabaho ko.
Hindi ko magagawa yung pinapagawa niyo sa akin.
Exactly.
Ayun.
Ano pang mga aside sa pagbili ng mga gadgets, mga devices, or mga materials, ano pang preparation na ginawa mo? Did you do something mentally to prepare on this new endeavor?
Mentally, I'd like to think I'm in a better position in terms of how to handle technology. Kasi I do have colleagues na, mas matanda sila sa akin and they know how to use technology but not how to harness the full potential. And hindi sa pagmamayabang, but I'd like to think just because, kasi yung generation din namin, ang kinalakihan namin is technology. So we're far along the learning curve, if you will. But that's not to say, that's not a knock on the other teacher kasi syempre meron din silang strengths na wala kami. So, mentally preparing for it was a challenge of course, but mas kaya naman. One thing that I did invest on as well was learning how to use different programs. So, EdTech, educational technology. So, applications that could be used for teaching, for helping assess. So talagang ganun din ginawa namin nung summer. We were doing a lot of workshops, testing out different sites. Like for example, Kahoot and quizzes. So these are websites na for online quizzing. So kung pag kunyari, papa-quiz
ginamit natin nung game night.
Ginamit natin ng game night. So that was one version of that. We also tackled virtual whiteboards. So Google in particular has Google Jamboard, which is a virtual whiteboard na pwedeng collaborative din. So pwedeng multiple Google users can open it. And it works like a whiteboard, basically. Pwede magsulat, pwede maglagay ng picture, pwede maglagay ng post-it, ganyan. One of the earlier plans as well was we would make our own videos, and I'm pretty sure some of the other schools as well, they would make videos for asynchronous task, meaning hindi sabay. So
paano mo start yung video? Halimbawa, paano mo start yung video? Sample.
Welcome to another live class.
Pero nakita mo ba yung sarili mo na ginagawa yun? Na
sa actual class ko?
No, yung paggawa ng video na i-play para sa mga asynchronous learners?
We did. Like we had
Did?
workshops. We would try to create like for example for a particular lesson, mixtures. So gumawa ako video for mixtures. As in nag-shoot ako sa bahay, nag-edit ako ganyan. Kasi
Paano
ganun din yung
mo Paano mo sinimulan? Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my
Hello class. So today we'll talk about mixtures. Sobrang like I was watching myself parang yung in-edit ko sabi ko, sagwa ako talaga tignan, hindi ako bagay pang vlog. Sobrang makapal mukha ako but not that level yet. So
pang podcast lang, hindi pang vlog level.
Pang daldal lang, hindi pa pang acting. Pero
kasi maganda kasi sa vlogging, maganda kasi sa podcasting, hindi ka kita unless naka-video cast ka, diba?
Boses ang puhunan mo dito.
Yun.
But yeah, that was part of our workshops as well. Like the faculty, we would try to create videos, educational videos. Yung maiksi lang kasi syempre para hindi umay sa students, but at the same time hindi rin sobrang workful. We thought about the feasibility of that. So yeah, we learned how to use Canva, especially kasi ang Canva meron ng video making recently. They updated it.
Yeah.
But there's also
phone.
Na pwede rin sa phone. So, but there's also the usual, Movie Maker or ano yung sa Mac? Nakalimutan ko yung program.
Final Cut Pro X.
Final Cut Pro. And then, may isa pa
iMovie,
yeah. So, something like that. Yung mga ganun lang na simpleng how could we use this to our advantage in teaching. So a lot of stuff. From home. Work from home kami lahat eh. So in-house.
In-house.
Like lang kami, tulungan lang kami. Yung mga may alam, mag-share. Yung mga, so kung anong alam namin. Personally, I tried to attend webinars. Recently, there was one set of webinars yung Philippine Science High School, which I was a graduate of. So there was that they did
shout out kay J.I. Nax.
Ay, Pisay ba si J.I.?
Hindi, Nax.
Nax. Akala ko.
Every time na sinasabi ko yung Nax, kasunod dun, shout out kay J.I.
Yes. So yun, there was 1 week that they did na para makatulong daw sa mga science teachers. They did a series of webinars. So I attended some of them. Paano lang to, hindi to inuto sa akin. Parang kusa ko na lang. Kasi gusto ko rin matuto eh.
Exactly.
Personally,
kasi
gusto ko rin
something
matuto.
to share. Nung nasa corporate pa ako, yung company namin is naka-partner with this particular online learning website.
Yeah.
So, pangalanan ko na linda.com.
Okay. Mga training ba ito?
Mga training. Ano kasi, one of my passion is video editing. And during that time, YouTube lang ako.
Yeah.
Tapos, may na-receive akong internal email na we can sign up for free, we can use our email addresses para malaman na libre yung pag-sign up namin for a premium account. Ginawa ko siya. Nag-sign up ako kasi learning never stops.
True.
Hindi
even for teachers.
Oo, especially for teachers kasi tinuturo mo yun eh.
Oh.
Hindi ka pwedeng maging stagnant kasi you need to learn a lot of things and continuous. Hindi lang kung ano yung napag-aralan mo nung after graduation, yun na yun na forever yung ituturo mo. 'Di ba? Sample na lang diyan, 'di ba? Yung states of matter. 'Di ba? Yung iba, alam, lang. Yung iba, alam, 4. Yung pala,
5 na.
Dami.
Actually, more than na. So.
'Di ba? So, yun. So, yung I'm pretty much sure nag-YouTube ka, 'di ba? Doon ka naghahanap ng mga sagot most of the time.
Yeah.
'Di ba? So, learning never stops. Kung may basketball never stops, I also believe that learning never stops. There's a lot of things to learn on a daily basis. It's just, it's always there for you to see for yourself.
Yun nga rin this whole online setup. Ang nangyayari is lahat kami back to square one. Even the most experienced teachers sa faculty namin. Lahat kami back to square one. Kasi
hindi kayo sanay na
di sanay
in front of a camera. Diba?
Yeah, it's very different. It's vastly different from doing face to face. For one thing, ad-libbing is harder. So, it's an open secret that teachers ad-lib at times. Siyempre, kapag balitan siya mo sa time frame or sa lesson plan mo, minsan may konting ad-lib. It's a lot harder now. So, talagang that shows that we have to prepare a lot better this time. How to plan our lessons, how to time it out, how much information should we give. Kasi you don't want to overload the kid, but you also don't want to dilute your topics. So it's always a balance na enough yung may tuturo namin, pero at the same time hindi over para sa hindi sobra sa students.
Dun ba sa subject na tinuturo mo, how many hours per week or per day yung allotted?
So since I teach science, it's one of the major subjects. I meet my classes twice a week for a 1 hour live class. So 2 times a week, mamimit ko sila for live class. And sa hapon, we have consultation periods. Sometimes required, sometimes hindi. This is usually for students na naghahabol or want to know more, ganyan. But at least there's that option na they could consult. So nasa schedule talaga yan. Naka-adlat sa schedule yung hours na schedule. For some subjects, once a week lang. Kung depende sa number of units yan eh. Sa number of units ng subject. Yung, in particular lang sa science, twice a week ko nami-meet. So, on a daily basis, I would have 1 to 2 live classes and then a maximum of 2 consultations. So, like for example, sa schedule kayo ngayon, ang pinakalagari ko Wednesday kasi 2 live class, 2 consultation yun. There are days naman na maluwag na kunyari 2 live class lang. Sa umaga lang lahat. By the way, yung live classes namin umaga. Hapon na yung consultation kasi syempre paghapon medyo sabaw-sabaw
na yung bata.
So talagang nasa umaga yung actual live classes. In the live classes, yun yung bagong lesson, bagong topic. Consultation is just a rehash, just an extra time to make clarifications pa sila if we want to do exercise and stuff.
Yung consultation, medyo curious ako. Ano ba? Required ba lahat ng student to attend yung consultation?
Depende sa prof. So we have the prerogative to make it required for everyone or make it required for some students na we feel na could benefit from it.
Okay.
So it really depends. Pero the thing with that, it's allotted in their class schedule. Like if you check their class schedule, there is an allotted time for it. And that was one of the yung mga coordinators namin in our our academic heads. Pinush talaga nila yun na ganun yung magiging class schedule. Kasi we feel na it would be a lot more imperative to have that consultation nowadays. Wala na yung luxury of time and the luxury of they could easily consult with us na after class kunyari pupunta sa faculty.
Sir, may question ako.
Sir, may question ako, ganyan. Yeah. Exactly. Wala na yung ganon. So, kailangan namin i-push for that. So, ang naisip nila, ilagay sa class schedule. I-count yun sa teaching load din sa units and sa units din ng students. So, may schedule for that. Para rin hindi rin and also, medyo serves as a protection din sa amin na hindi masabi ng parents na hindi kami nag-effort. No, parang there is an active effort in our part na hindi lang kami basta magtuturo, tutulungan namin yung anak niyo na matuto.
Thanks. Now, ito, I'm not sure if you will be able to answer or not, or if you know the answer, you can opt not to answer. Nagmahal ba yung tuition fee nung school niyo?
Okay.
Or
so,
the same?
And last I checked, I'm not exactly sure. So, don't quote me.
Yeah.
But last I checked, hindi nagbago. And the rationale for that is the savings that na hindi na makukuha. Example, kuryente sa mismong site, renta.
Sa school.
Sa school, yung usual expenses doon. Yung na-save doon was reallocated in all of these learning technology that we're invested in.
Yung LMS.
We invested in the LMS. As in, binabayaran yun. So, we invested in that. We have premium Zoom accounts. We use Zoom for our live classes. We have premium accounts para hindi maputol sa 40 minutes.
Dapat pala, ikaw yung nag-host nito eh.
Hindi, ang alam ko pag one-on-one, ano yan?
Wala.
Tama. Alam pa yan eh. Ako rin podcast din. Alam mo, ikaw lang. Pero yun, so nag-invest sa mga premium accounts, subscriptions to certain sites na ginagamit namin for resources, like mga online libraries, doon napunta.
Okay.
So, hindi necessarily nakatipid yung school na may bababa yung tuition. And that was a legitimate concern, especially during the summer. There were parents who were asking, would tuition fees decrease? Kasi nga, ang initial assumption is, hindi naman nagagamit yung lugar. Hindi nagagamit yung kuryente, walang internet, whatever. Mga ganong topics.
Kami pa ngayon kumakaroon ng kuryente eh. Diba?
Yun na nga mangyayari. Kayo pa matadagdagan ng bayarin sa kuryente and internet. And that is a legitimate concern. But just to give a background on what happens, quote unquote, behind the scenes, hindi diretso sa pocket nung may-ari yung na-save. It was reinvested into other infrastructure. Yun nga. Pagpapa-training sa amin, they gave us so for some teachers they binigyan ng internet allowance para kasi syempre maging na sa amin yun.
Additional gastos.
Kami nasa salo.
Ikaw ba nag-upgrade ka ng internet?
Nag-upgrade kami pero hindi ko na hiningi sa boss ko kasi although I should have, but the reason for that is balak namin talaga mag-upgrade dahil yung mom ko I work from home. So it was like an investment talaga in our part. Pero we had that option. Well, I'm not sure if I had that option. Pero but for the other teachers, they had that option. So binigyan ng either pocket wifi or hindi ko alam kung binigyan
internet allowance.
Internet allowance. Yun yung mas gusto namin kasi syempre hindi naman assured na kung ano yung provider na binigay kasi signal yun. Pero there was that investment. And also yun nga, learning management systems, softwares, ganyan. So hindi fully nakatipid. Yun nga. I'm sorry to all the parents who are probably listening. That's probably one rationale. And I think they have to check that with the schools that they're working with. What are they doing with the quote-unquote savings? At least for our school, we could confidently say na it was reinvested in the things that would be useful.
Ang major gripe ko lang kasi dyan, teacher, is dun sa resibo nung isang anak ko, may nakalagay na guidance counselor. Paano ko ipapag-guidance yung anak ko? Di ba?
Okay. In terms of yeah. No, I get what you mean.
Yeah, nilaloko nga yung anak ko eh. Nilaloko nga yung anak ko. Sabi ko, paano pa pag matigas ang ulo nito, pwede ko ipag-guidance? Kasi binayaran. Pero I'm just making a joke out of it. But it's a legitimate question for me as a parent. Bakit meron guidance something?
I wouldn't know the exact situation of your child's school. And I'm not here to demean them or whatever. I'm sure they had their reasons. Pero if I were to guess, I think dapat yung guidance counselor part niya ng school, so dapat pinapasahuran talaga yan ng school.
Pero, paano papasahurin yung hindi naman nagagamit, di ba?
Guidance counseling is a lot more essential nowadays, especially in this time.
Paano nga yun? Paano namin mapapag-guidance yung anak namin pag matigas ang ulo? Pag, hindi gumigising ng maaga,
hindi
nagbubukas ng laptop noong time.
Again, I'm not exactly sure. Pero the thing with our school, the school that I work for, is that we have what is known as mentoring chats. That is what's special sa school namin. So, students are assigned a mentor, and we don't do guidance counselor work kasi that's a whole different profession. But what we do is mentor them. That is not necessarily academic. Life skills, social skills, ganyan.
Love problems, kasama ba?
Ewan ko sa... wala akong, I cannot confirm nor deny.
Para kang si Raj,
Shoutout kay Raj.
Raj.
But yeah, But yun, so we also foresee that, and it was part of our, this was mentioned in one of our in-house webinars because we work with a psychologist then.
Mhm.
And one thing that the teachers have to learn, and I guess the parents would have to learn as well, is that mental health will be taking a toll this pandemic. And so guidance
I agree.
guidance counseling support systems will be essential in every school. And so I hope na kung ano man yung binabayaran nyo sa resibo na for guidance counseling ay magamit for that. Kasi essential siya ngayon. Lalo na ngayon. Mas lalo na ngayon.
I-bring up ko ngayon sa next PTA meeting.
Like honestly, like even if I work for a school, I think parents should demand accountability from the schools that they work for. I have a friend na itago natin sa joke lang. I do have a friend na
Blip natin.
hindi. Pero I have a friend na may kapatid siya na nag-aaral for this prestigious school. So, I won't mention the school. Pero naging issue recently kung ano yung laman ng tuition fee nila. And some of the students were wondering bakit ito binabayaran namin. Hindi na nga ganun. So, syempre tinanong ako kung ano bang rational ng ganyan. And I could only explain to a fault. Pero when I looked at some of the things that they were paying, I don't remember the exact ones, but I do remember that they were relatively inessential and relatively overpriced.
Ibang usapan yun.
Ibang usapan na yun. So, parents, if you can, ask for what you're paying for. Because, apart from the fact that you are paying for your child's education, it ensures schools to do better. It forces them to do better. And I'd like to think that if we all do better together, and everybody happy.
Succeed if we do better
We'll
together.
succeed. Oh.
Diba?
I mentioned this in one of my episodes. Sorry, I'm rambling.
Sure.
I mentioned this in one of my episodes.
Saka isipin mo, hindi ko pa napapakinggan yung mga episodes mo. Para,
yeah.
Bala, hindi ko alam.
In one of my episodes, the struggles of teaching, I mentioned that sometimes there is that mindset that some parents
Episode
antagonize
7?
teachers. Wow, alam. There are some parents who unfortunately, whether intentionally or not, antagonize teachers. And the thing that I always say is that we're on the same team. We're not being paid to torture. We're not being paid to torture your kid. Okay? That's not our job. What we're doing is we want them to learn just as much as you do. So I hope that you don't antagonize, like awayin nyo kami, pero wag naman yung dahil iisip nyo na hindi namin ginagawa trabaho. Maybe there are bad apples, but
Not all.
generally, not all. Lalo na sa teaching, just ko naman, aminin na natin, hindi naman ito yung pinaka-lucrative job, but why are we still doing it? Because we want to teach the next generation. This is our purpose. So, we don't appreciate being antagonized like that, na parang, ayan teacher ko pinapahirapan, magagawin, mamaya maghingi pa na extra credit or whatever. Like, this is a reality. These are not necessarily my personal experiences, but there are teachers like that. There are parents like that who go to teachers na parang mapatulong ganyan. And yes, it's fine to a fault na tutulungan namin yung anak mo. Pero wag naman yung tipong gagatasan nyo kami. Diyos ko naman. Okay na yun. Parang matututunan anak nyo kung ganun lang magiging...
Yung spoon feed mo, wala talaga matutunan yun. Let them think.
And failure is not a setback. It's a setback, but it's not the end of the world. It's a way for everyone, not just children, for everyone to learn. So, it's sad to get, sa permanent record na may binagsak na subject. Pero, ang point dyan, learn from it. Ako, I've had lots of failures when I was a student. And hindi ko sinisi yung prof ko na parang, bak naman hindi ako pinasa neto. Siyempre, at the time, parang, maybe at the time. Pero,
sayang
in
yung
general,
3 units.
Sayang yung 3 units, binara ko naman. Lalo na sa college, just ko naman, naka 5-5 ako. pero chinaga ako kasi, learning experience yun.
Hmm.
So,
Tsaka, alam mo yung kasabihan na failure is not an option? Alam mo yung kasabihan na failure is not an option?
Yeah.
I beg to disagree. Failure is the only option.
Sometimes,
it's
you
up to
haven't-
you if you're gonna stand up or remain a failure.
Yeah. Nobody is really learned until they failed. And
You haven't really learned until you failed.
You haven't really learned until you failed. And so,
I agree.
huwag kayong sobrang matakot. Like, syempre, iniwasan natin na bumagsak ang mga anak mo. Pero huwag kayong sobrang matakot. Buti na lang yung parents ko hindi sobrang GC or grade conscious nung nag-aaral ako. Basta daw may natutunan.
Munti ko nang i-google kung ano yung GC kasi ang alam kong GC group.
Grade conscious, sorry. Yeah, grade conscious. Yeah.
Kasi ang alam ko dun sa episode mo na the struggle is real.
Mm-hmm.
Yung mga teacher may mga flaws din yan. Hindi yan perfect. Diba?
Yep.
May kanya-kanyang pagkakamali. May mga struggles. Tatanong ko sana sa'yo mamaya ito.
Yeah.
Mga struggles. Diba? Now, question is, during this whole time that you're doing online teaching, for the benefit of my listeners on this podcast, what are the struggles that you've encountered?
Sorry, in terms of this whole online setting or in general?
In general.
Some of the struggles of
you being at home teaching online. Struggles of being a teacher during this pandemic.
in particular during this pandemic. I think this is not exclusive to being me a teacher. Pero I feel like it's amplified because I am a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
The whole line between work and home. Dati, pag umuwi ako galing sa school, pwede ko nang i-off yung utak ko. Pwede na ako mag-relax, be with my family, be with our dog. Pwede na ako mag-relax in general. And, pero before this, kahit umuwi ako, minsan nagtatrabaho pa rin ako kasi gagawa ng slides pambukas, prepare ng lesson plan, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now, dahil pati sa bahay ako nagtatrabaho, that line is a lot more blurry.
Wala kang switch to turn it
Wala
off
akong
and
switch.
to turn it on.
Buti sana kung meron akong separate kwarto na pag iniwan ko yun, office lang talaga
Office,
kasi ito pwede naman sa kwarto. Wala. Kasi sa kwarto ako nagtatrabaho. Hindi naman pwede sa sala kasi life goes on in our house.
Oo naman. So,
and I'd like to think that a lot of my colleagues, not just in the school that I work for, but all all my teacher friends feel the same way. Na it was bad enough before, but it's worse now.
Wow.
It was bad enough before, but it's worse now.
But I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Pero yun nga, it's part of our duty that we have to prepare. So yun nga, that's one reason why I started this podcast. It was an outlet. It was a creative outlet. Na, for once, even if I do talk about education, it's not in the same level as having the responsibility of trying to teach. Kasi ibang level nun. Also, after live classes, the fatigue is real. Nakakapagod mag-live. Nakakapagod enough mag-Zoom. Pero mas nakakapagod talking to a bunch of black screens. I mean, at times, minsan dapat nga ipaparequire namin na video pero hindi mo rin masisisi kung mabagal internet or that eh.
So, sa mga anak ko, pag naka-turn off yung camera nila, absent sila.
Well, sa amin, dapat ganun eh. Pero ako kasi mas maunawain ako na parang basta makikinig kayo. Kasi ang panghuli ko dyan, nagpaparesi ako. At inuna ko yung mga naka-screen. Yung mga naka-blank ang screen.
Resi means recitation po.
Recitation, yes.
Tama.
So, magpaparecite ako. So, kung kunyari, kahit ano lang, wala akong pakialam kung tama kung sabihin mo, hindi. Sumagot ka.
Saan technique mo yun?
Just so I know you're still listening. I mean, part na ng curriculum namin yung live class. So wala tayong magagawa doon. What we can do is make the most out of it. And yeah, you have the rest of the day naman to do other asynchronous tasks.
Meron kasi akong nakinig ko kasi yung anak ko nung minsan. Sinasabihin niya yung classmate niya, "Uy, ka maglaro." Kita ko naglalaro. Alam ko naglalaro ka. Kasi nakikinig niya yung yung mga mouse clicks ng WASD.
Yun lang. Alam ko yan. Ako, di papasa sa amin yun. Nagpapakahirap kami na magturo tapos
hindi ko alam kung nagpapakahiro yung anak ko o naiingit siya na gusto rin niya maglaro.
baka rin naiingit siya. Grabe naman si classmate mo then nag-ML lang
Grabe, teacher.
Yes.
Tingnan mo yung recorder mo.
Oo nga eh. Gulatin ako.
Ang oras na. Sarap, no? Sarap nung
I could go on. I could honestly go on. But yeah, there are a lot. There are a lot to unpack here.
Sige. With that said, I will go to my last question for today's episode.
Yes.
Again, you can answer, not answer. But what's your stand when it comes to #freeze academic frame?
#academic freeze.
Academic freeze pala. Pati ako nalilito na.
Okay.
Sabi ko sa'yo, sabi mo,
yeah.
You have some inputs about that. Sabi ko, hold on.
I do. And for the longest time, I've debated on this personally, like internally.
With yourself?
With myself.
Okay.
Should I support this cause? Here's my take on that.
Yes.
And I know there might be people who might be mad at me, and that's fine. Wala tayong magagawa dun. Pero here's how I see it. And this, if you ask me this question, years ago, when I was not a teacher, when I was a student even, push yan. Siyempre, academic freeze na. #academic freeze na. That's true. Sobrang hilaw ng everything. And, we need a lot more time to prepare. And that is a legitimate concern. That is very legitimate. But here's the thing. Every time you delay, right, it has its repercussions. Yes, there will be time to prepare. But we end up procrastinating. Take a look at this extension given by DepEd already. So, originally, dapat August.
Yep.
August 24, in fact, sabi nila. But with the clamoring of the different groups, they pushed it back to October 5. And that's good. At least there's time to prepare.
Meron pang nagsasabi na January na daw eh. January na lang.
Oo nga eh. Personally, okay na sa akin yan eh. Pero I digress. Push to October 5. Okay. So we have like 1 to 2 months to prepare. Anong ginagawa nila? Anong ginagawa ng not just the schools but the whole general education system? Was that extension being put to good use? And that's something that we have to ask ourselves. If we freeze academics now, again, like on top of the extension na nilagay sa October 5, do we have the assurance that that extension would be used wisely? Do we have the assurance that, okay, i-extend namin and here is our plan? Do we have that plan? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. As much as I want to support, the government trusts, I don't think so. And there are some na, would feel that way na this is just a version of procrastination all over
again. Parang
dinelay
mo lang yung agony.
We're delaying the inevitable. Hindi na nga tayo prepared eh. Yun nga yung point eh. So, pag in-extend pa yan, tapos hindi ka pa rin nag-prepare, ano na? Saan tayo pupulutin?
Wala
sa kangkungan?
Dinelay mo lang. Yun din ang ending.
Yun din ang ending. Talo pa yung estudyante. Kasi, una, haba yung school year nila. Pangalawa, like, there's a lot of domino effect yan eh. Pag may gap sa, and I get that. Education is not the number one priority. I can concede that. It's not. It's health. Let's be real. It's health. Pero pag ang laking dagok din sa education kapag pag dinelay mo pa. We've had too much delays. And as much as it sucks that kahit ngayon hindi pa rin super prepared, but we have to go through anyway, wala kasi pag lalong hinabahan pa, I think the consequences would be dire, not just in terms of the academics. Like, ang daming factors. There's the academics of the kids. There's as in yung learning nila, yung education nila, and whatnot. There's the economics of the teachers involved. Syempre, yung iba, like if it was extended, we would probably expect a few more schools closing down, massive layoffs, etc. And then, pag nagkaroon ka ng gap in the students na ipapagraduate mo, that's a knock on the workforce, the possible amount of workforce that could have gone to do other things that are also essential, not just in like major companies, but also to work for the government. So, ano yun, sunod-sunod yan eh. And
parang naalala mo, teacher, yung nag-start yung senior high school. Parang for 2 years, yung mga freshmen na teacher
there was a gap,
or professor, may gap, di ba? Parang
there was a gap.
Ganun din yung mangyayari.
Yeah, and
to some extent, diba?
This one would be worse kasi I'd like to think that this
wala
would be
talaga.
worse. Kasi wala talaga.
Oo.
Dati, kahit dun sa sa 2-year gap, meron pa konti-konti. Ito, madedelay lahat. And if we did the academic freeze, say, like a few months ago, fine, pwede pa. Pero we're now at the point that if I feel like that would do more harm than good, unfortunately. We are at a lost situation, which sucks. But that's where we are. And so personally, well, also, I have to recognize, again, I keep on mentioning this because it's true. I have to recognize that I'm in a privileged position na afford kong mag-push through now with online classes. Some teachers can't. Right? Pero in generally, I feel na kailangan talagang i-push through ngayon. Wag nang i-delay pa, wag nang i-freeze pa. Kasi mas lalala talaga eh. And this is now with me knowing what being a teacher entails. Kasi if you ask me this as a student, immediate, like, in an instant sabihin ko freeze. Kasi not just because hindi ako papasok. Yung like parang at least bakasyon ganyan.
Tamban.
Pero like I think that was because when I was a student, medyo short-sighted. Ang naisip mo, yes, it would get, like, for you, the kicker would be na it would give teachers time to prepare. And that's a good point. Yes, there is time to prepare, at least kung i-extend mo. Pero now we have to look ahead. What will happen if we freeze education? And I'd like to think that the consequences are too dire for us to do it now again. Lana, we missed our chance. We missed the train. The train is gone. Right? So, medyo malala na kung
the sail has long gone.
Yeah, the sail has, ano ba yun? The ship has sailed. It's gone. So, we have to do the best we can. Yes.
Come to think of it, Teacher JF. Ikaw, meron ka ng experience sa online teaching. Yung iba, wala pa. So sila, pag freeze pa nila yung school year, next year, wala pa silang experience. Hindi pa nila alam ang gagawin nila. They're back to square one. Compared to you, na meron ka ng experience na kapag simula ka na, siguro naman after a year.
Yeah. May idea na ako kung anong kailangan. Oh. Yun din eh. Mawala ka rin practice time eh. Yes, you can practice all you want in terms like internally. Magsisimulate kayo. Hindi. Iba. Pag real life na. Iba pag
benefit sa'yo. Yun, at least meron ka ng experience sa online teaching. Alam mo na ang gagawin.
Yeah. Pero I mean, for those who are listening who are probably much more in favor of ACAD fees now, I'm not I disagree with you, but I'm not going to shame you for believing that because it's also a legitimate call. I honestly think it's a legitimate call. It's just not for me. Not anymore, at least.
Yep. Thank you for your thoughts, Teacher JM. Now,
Pinag-isipan ko yung tweet yan. Kasi pero kinabahan ako kasi ang dami kong kakilalang alam kong for ACAD quiz eh. Pero wala eh. Iba na yung ano eh. Iba na yung nasa ibang timeline na
yung sarili mo kung yun naman yung nasa isip mo. Think freely.
Hindi, no, I know the think freely, but also like I wanted to have a sober understanding of what it really means. Kasi I'm part of it. Teacher ako eh. So apektado ako. So it's a concern na I wanted to think about. I wanted to see both sides and I've decided na hindi talaga. Not anymore at least.
Okay. So, mali pala ako, hindi pala yung last question. Ang last question ko pala, what's your favorite number?
53. Akala mo
Ganun?
Hindi. Honestly, 53. Kasi I thought about Durant's 35 and then I wanted to switch it up. Kasi at saka rare ang 53 sa basketball. Pansin mo ba? Hindi uso.
Si Dawkins. Si Daryl Dawkins, number 53.
Daryl Dawkins ang yata yung sikat. Pero other than that, parang wala.
Sure ka? Ayaw mo ng Region Rondo? O kaya Samboy Lim?
Samboy. Hindi pa ba mga sikat na may number na gano'n?
Ayaw mo talaga?
Hindi talaga eh. Pero funny, that was actually my number dun sa... Kasi nag-PE ako nung college ng basketball. And yung numbers doon ay hindi namin pwedeng pili kasi medyo maraming sections eh. So, alphabetical. Kasi yun nga yung nakuha kong number.
Oy, letter E ka. Medyo sa una-una.
Letter E, pero pang-siyam ako. So,
yun.
So, yun yung nasa jersey ko. 9. Haha.
Sus! Hala na. It's your time to plug. Go ahead.
Yes. So, thank you for having me here.
Pwede ka rin mag-shout out.
Yes. If you want to listen more about my thoughts on education, and I also have some chats with my former teachers. I plan on having more guests on. Recently kasi puro ako nagsasalita. But
hirap ng solo casting, no?
Pero mas comfortable. Well, kaya ko naman kasi at least hawak ko yung oras ko. But yes, it's if you want to listen to me ramble more or talk to other people, be sure to check the Pisara Tales. It's on Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a Facebook, a Twitter, and an Instagram page. Just look up the Pisara Tales, right? Now, by the time na lumabas to, may merch na kami. So
Yun!
Under the PPD store, so the Philippine Podcast Directory.
Ganda ng mga designs mo.
Thank you. I tried. Be sure to check it out. And now, yun nga, nabanggit na. Regular na ako sa Padtitos and Padtitos sa PPD. So you can listen to me there as well.
Shoutout kay Otits GP.
Otits GP. Salamat sa iyong basbas. But yeah, and if you want to follow, personally, if you want to follow me at @space_racer on Twitter, I rant a lot. I fanboy on K-pop sometimes. Kaya bahala. But yeah, that's where you can catch me.
I'll make sure to link all those social media handles in the description. So
yes,
check it out, guys. Oh, wala ka bang babatiin?
Wala, wag na. Baka umay na siya sa akin.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I have completed the series. Teacher JM.
Thank you.
The Pisara Tales.
Thank you,
Teacher
Sir
JM,
Jeck.
thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I have completed this mini-series on online school in the Philippines. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. So next week, we're gonna go back to the original content of this podcast. Now, before we end today's episode, I'd just like to give a big shout out to Oopsie Clothing and the PPD store. Check it out on Facebook. I'll make sure to link all the links on the description down below. With that said, there's nothing else left to do Hit that like button if you like this type of content. Smash it if that's your something into 2020 style. Give us a follow. Subscribe if you aren't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Assuming that we all survive. Let's make the needy tacky. Peace!